fans, do you want to win your share of $100,000? Simply enter the houseofboxing.com Fight Night Prediction Challenge. Compete with boxing fans around the world. Simply head over to houseofboxing.com and sign up now.
This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and houseofboxing.com. Delighted to be joined in a lovely room here in Brighton with Nisse Sauerland. How have you fluked that one?
Everyone needs to stop saying this. I look like I'm fucking spoiled or something. I don't know. I just ended up walking into it. It's probably not my room. I don't know. Someone might come home later and find me sleeping in their bed.
Wonder what that'll be like. Anyway, we are in Brighton. Yeah, we are in Brighton. We are here for a big homecoming. When Harlem Eubank sort of throughout his career, he's always talked about wanting to bring boxing back to Brighton. To be able to do that and see that now, how delighted are you for this whole week, this whole build up for where it all sort of kicks off on Friday night?
Look, I'm very excited. I wouldn't say I'm delighted. I'm excited/nervous right now. Ask me on Saturday. I keep saying Sunday because normally it's on Saturday. But ask me on Saturday and hopefully I'll be delighted how it's gone. It's just, at this point you're a bit nervous. You want, obviously Harlem's made way. He looks good. So all that's left to do is for Harlem to perform in the ring. And I believe he can do that.
We'll just firstly touch on the weight. Obviously, fighting at super lightweight made the weight. No secret that it is a little bit of a struggle of him. He's previously talked about moving up to welterweight. What did you make of the weigh-ins today and him on the scales?
Sorry. He did look dry. I didn't hear of any issues of him doing the pre-weight checks or anything like that. So he made it like a true professional in one go, but that's it's up to him, isn't it? It's how you feel at that weight. Look at, the perfect example is a John Ryder, who I think he was at middleweight and he was like, you could see just squeezing into it. Went up to super middleweight and he wasn't doing well at middleweight, and he went up to super middleweight and his career just it caught fire. So I think, look, it's up to Harlem and his trainer, really. I can advise on the fights and the locations and what TV channels, etc. But essentially the weight has to be between the fighter and the trainer. I sort of stay out of that.
Well, we'll get into Friday night, fighting Timo Schwarzkopf. Fairly known to the UK public. Obviously been out of guys like Jack Catterall, Jr, Witter, guys like that. Dangerous opponent for Harlem, do you think?
Yeah, I've had him on a few of my shows. I believe he lost to Jack Catterall. I was with him that week, actually. He wasn't very well in Dubai. I remember it was touch and go if he was going to actually fight. He's brave. You're in a fight when you fight him. I think that this is the perfect opponent for Harlem at this stage. And in order to progress to the next stage, bigger arenas, bigger belts, bigger accolades, he needs to beat Schwarzkopf and he needs to look good doing that. There's no point in, just having a shutout win. You need to entertain, you need to get your fans in Brighton, your home city, you need to get them excited, you need to want them to want more. So you need to just put on an absolute, masterclass performance.
Absolutely. Just touching on the undercard there, guys like Tommy Welch out, Tom Welland, Lerrone Richards is obviously a new signing. Building for a solid card tomorrow night. Roman Fury obviously as well.
Tom Welland. He doesn't like that nickname. I like it. He's a very talented young man. Was with the Filipino Olympic team. Obviously based out of Essex, but half English, half Filipino. Very talented young man, one to keep an eye on. He's going to be very, very busy. Roman Fury, very excited to see what he's got. And then obviously Lerrone, he's a world-class operator. And he needs activity. That's what we're going to give him. We've also got Dalton Zerbek, alerting all super featherweights out there, trying to move him up the rankings, and I believe he's one of the best super feathers out there at the moment. And that division's quite hot at the moment, so let's see. Tommy Welch as well, I'm very interested to see what he's got. Harvey Dykes, special mention, sold over 400 tickets himself. It's amazing. So yeah, it's going to be a good show. I look forward to it. We've got Conor McGregor's mate fighting as well. So you know, we've got all these different people fighting. It's a mad mix of people. You got the Eubanks and the Furies. Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Chaotic.
Definitely, I just did want to touch back on Harlem. Obviously, we do see him now linking up with his uncle Chris Eubank Sr. What did you make of that link up where we see him on Monday together when they addressed all the media? We've seen him this week. Eubank Sr. always in fine form. For a lot of things to say, but what did you make of the link up between them both?
I think it makes sense. I think Senior brings a lot of eyeballs to Harlem. We saw that with Junior as well at the beginning, and also he's a great talker. He's a poet. He's a thespian, and it's always fun to work with him.
Absolutely. And one thing, obviously, when he was addressing the media, he was talking about what he wants for Harlem, and he keeps sort of banging on the drum for him to fight Conor Benn. Obviously, the logical opponent that we think that would be next for Conor Benn would be Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously, who you deal with as well. Does this sort of make things? Does it make things a little bit awkward?
No, not really. It makes things a lot more interesting. I was saying a second ago, it creates a narrative, it creates storylines, and I think that's a little bit what boxing. Maybe it does have the storylines, but the storylines aren't delivering. And hopefully this can be delivered. Hopefully we can do Junior against Benn, and hopefully we can do Harlem against Benn, and rematches, and throw Harley Benn in the mix. Get all these guys together. It's just creating storylines and actually making it exciting for the public.
Absolutely. Obviously, if the rumours are true, and the next logical step for fight to make would be Conor Benn with Chris Eubank Jr. One thing that was talked about, Eddie Hearn said that he said he wanted to make Dalton Smith versus Harlem Eubank. He said he'd sent an offer out. Do you feel like that at this point in Harlem's career, that's something that you're willing to entertain?
Yeah, for the correct offer. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly the offer, but it was an offer. But it was yeah. Let's not go into that too much detail. I think, by the sounds of it, Harlem's going to move up to welterweight, so that kind of, closes that door off. I have talked about the Dalton Smith, Harlem Eubank fight quite a few times. I do think that it needs to be built a bit in order to get the fighters paid the correct amount of money that they both sort of deserve for a fight of that size and risk to their careers. So I think it's definitely one to keep an eye on. Even if he goes up to welterweight, I reckon Dalton will probably go up as well at some point. So yeah, it's one to keep an eye on, but nothing in the immediate future planned to do that.
So before I get on to obvious talk of Eubank Jr. and Benn, one thing I did want to ask you about was a few things came out about Filip Hrgovic with him now being a free agent. Is there anything you sort of update with what the situation is there with the IBF ruling, and is Hrgovic a free agent now?
I would say I am. My brother's dealing with that at the moment. I'm not exactly across all of that. We've still got open communication with Filip. I'm not sure if the word free agent's the correct word. I'm not exactly sure. We will work with him again in the future, 100%, and together with Matchroom as well. So it's just a frustrating time, to be honest, because they could have made Usyk Hrgovic. We could have done that December 23rd, and then they could have, done the winner of that against Fury in March. I think who am I to say to boxers they need to be more active? Yeah, but their activity is key sometimes. Look at a career of like a Lerrone Richards. He needs to be more active. The fighters need to be more active. Maybe promoters need to be more active now. But at the same time, no, we will still work with Filip.
Do you feel like he sometimes finds himself in like the Who Needs Me club, where he doesn't attract as much interest as potentially some other heavyweights, or he hasn't got the profile of other heavyweights? He does sort of find himself a little bit short when it comes to sort of fights that want to be made. He's never always in that conversation.
I think you find that with any super talented fighter, let's say a Sultan Zerbeck or a Dmitry Bivol or a Beterbiev. All these guys find they're backed by big promoters, but it's hard to find an opponent who's going to go and fight them for, not that much, because at the end you're fighting, killers, right? They're bloody good fighters, but at the same time, their TV, sadly, their home TV stations do not pay as much as America or UK or, it's interesting with Saudi coming into the market because it doesn't seem like they mind, where anyone's from. They just, want good boxing.
Absolutely, and just sort of just now getting onto the typical conversation. I mean, it's the typical conversation that's been happening for, I can say, since this past year is Conor Benn v Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously, talks are sort of advancing now. It seems like it's at a very, very good stage. We did see Eddie Hearn at Spurs Stadium watching Spurs lose 4-1 to Chelsea on Monday evening.
I don't feel like we lost.
Yeah,
I feel like it was a victory. I feel like I do when I take a fighter to a foreign country, and he battles and he wins. Everyone thinks he's won, but he doesn't get the decision. I feel like we went out there and we did amazingly, considering we had 9 men. I'd be more worried if I was a Chelsea fan, just saying. Anyway, go back to boxing.
Sorry, boxing talk. Is there any advancements in that talk? Obviously, January 27th, February the 3rd were dates that were discussed. Are those sort of is that sort of the timeline that you're working towards?
I think Eddie's a closet Spurs fan. Yeah. Ask him. Me and my brother always suspected it. I think he's definitely a Spurs fan, but my brother was there as well, actually, at the game. Oh, okay. I just watch it on TV these days. Still got my season ticket, though. I do believe that is the fight that has to happen. And I believe it's close. I don't know how close. That's a question for my brother. But at the same time, that fight has to happen.
Are we seeing it in the same stadium? Are we seeing it in Spurs Stadium, do you think? Would that be something that you'd like?
That'd be like that would be a dream. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just as we sort of wrap this up now, 2023 comes towards an end. You've got, obviously, this show on Friday. You've got McGregor Lowe. Then you've got Josh Kelly back out on December 16th. How would you evaluate 2023 as a whole for yourself and for Wasserman?
Mad. Just the way I like it. It's been, you go from selling out 20,000-seater arenas to doing 1,000-seaters. It's peaks and troughs in boxing, and you can't have the highs without putting the work on the smaller sort of scene as well, and building up young guys, because I think boxing at the moment is at a stage where who's next? Who's going to be the next guy after Eubank, AJ, Fury? Who's going to be the next guy to pop? Like, who's going to be the next, or girl, who's going to be the superstar? And that's quite exciting. Is it going to be Josh Kelly? Is it going to be Dalton Smith? Who's going to be the next household name? Is it going to be Harlem Eubank? Who's it going to be? And I think that's what we all have to work hard for as promoters, is to pay attention who we're matching them with, giving the people exciting fights, but at the same time making sure that the personality is shown correctly from the fighter's side as well. So yeah, like I said, it's exciting. Obviously, a bit nerve-wracking because you're like, who's the next pay-per-view guy? Yeah, if you look at the pay-per-views this year, we've obviously did a couple with Eubank, and then the rest was the Misfits with KSI, and I'm trying to think if there's any other pay-per-view fights in the UK. I'm not sure.
AJ didn't have any pay-per-view fights, so I'm trying to think. Depends. Like Usyk Dubois was pay-per-view in the UK, but yeah, then that's the only one. Obviously Fury and Ngannou as well, the only ones I can think of. So yeah, that seems about it, mate.
So yeah, I mean, we're quite happy to have had the big share of the pay-per-views. We're happy with our year, but you need to work hard to keep that up and keep pushing on, and keep the pressure up on yourselves to deliver better.
Absolutely, Nisse. Thank you for letting us in your room. It's been very nice being here. I appreciate the time speaking to me. Thank you for the time, and all the best for tomorrow night and for the rest of the year, mate. Thank you. Cheers, mate.